Liverpool's pursuit of Paris Saint-Germain winger Bradley Barcola is entering a potentially decisive stage, with the two clubs appearing to be moving closer to an agreement after weeks of difficult negotiations. The situation around Barcola has changed significantly in recent days. Liverpool initially faced a huge asking price from PSG, with the French champions understood to have placed a valuation of around €150 million on the 23-year-old winger. That figure created a major obstacle for the Reds, who were unwilling to immediately match PSG's demands. However, the latest developments suggest that PSG may now be prepared to lower their financial expectations, giving Liverpool renewed hope that a deal can finally be completed. Liverpool have already made a serious move by presenting an offer worth around €115 million. That proposal has reportedly been rejected, but the rejection has not ended negotiations. Instead, it appears to have opened the door for further discussions between the two clubs. The important development is that PSG are no longer appearing completely rigid around the original €150 million valuation. There is now growing optimism that the two sides could eventually find a compromise somewhere around the €130 million mark. That would represent a major breakthrough for Liverpool. Liverpool push forward. Liverpool's interest in Barcola is not new, but the club's pursuit has become increasingly aggressive as the summer transfer window approaches its final stages. The Reds see the French international as one of their priority attacking targets and believe his combination of speed, dribbling ability, creativity and versatility would add another dimension to the squad. Barcola is particularly attractive because he can operate from the left wing, but also has the ability to play in different attacking positions. His ability to beat defenders one-on-one is one of the characteristics Liverpool value most. Recent reporting has consistently identified Barcola as Liverpool's leading winger target, although the financial gap with PSG has remained the biggest problem. Sky Sports has reported that PSG value the player at around £145 million, making negotiations difficult. Liverpool, meanwhile, have been working toward a considerably lower figure. Reports have indicated that the Reds were prepared to go as high as approximately €120 million, while PSG were initially looking for something closer to €150 million. That difference explains why the first major Liverpool proposal has not been accepted. But Liverpool have not walked away. Instead, the club appears ready to continue negotiations and test whether PSG can be persuaded to reduce their demands. The €115 million bid, Liverpool's €115 million offer, is significant because it demonstrates that this is no longer simply an expression of interest. The Reds have put real money on the table. The proposal was rejected, but that does not necessarily mean Liverpool are finished with the transfer. In fact, the current situation suggests that the rejection may have been part of the negotiating process. PSG have been trying to protect the value of one of their most talented attacking players. Barcola is still young, has already established himself at the highest level and remains under contract. That gives PSG a strong negotiating position. At the same time, Liverpool know that paying €150 million would represent a huge financial commitment. Therefore, the next stage of negotiations could be about finding a middle ground. And this is where the €130 million figure becomes extremely important. €130 million could be the compromise. If the latest direction of the negotiations continues, Liverpool and PSG could potentially reach an agreement for a package worth around €130 million. This would be significantly higher than Liverpool's rejected €115 million proposal, but still below PSG's original €150 million demand. From Liverpool's perspective, that could be considered a more acceptable compromise. From PSG's perspective, €130 million would still represent a massive return on their investment in the player. This is why the next few discussions could be crucial. The difference between €115 million and €130 million is €15 million. In a transfer of this magnitude, that gap can potentially be bridged through negotiations over bonuses, add-ons, payment structures, and other contractual conditions. Instead of Liverpool paying the entire amount immediately as a guaranteed fee, the clubs could potentially structure the package around an initial payment followed by performance-related bonuses. That would allow both sides to claim a degree of victory. Liverpool would avoid paying the full €150 million initially, while PSG could potentially reach or approach their desired valuation if Barcola performs at the level expected. PSG starting to move. The biggest reason for optimism is not simply Liverpool's willingness to increase their bid, it is the apparent change in PSG's position. Initially, PSG's message was clear: Barcola would not be allowed to leave cheaply. The €150 million valuation represented the French club's position and created a major barrier for Liverpool. But the current situation appears different. There are now indications that PSG could be prepared to negotiate closer to the €130 million level. That does not mean the deal is completed. It does not mean PSG have officially accepted €130 million, and it certainly does not mean Liverpool have already reached an agreement. But it does suggest that the negotiating distance between the two clubs may be shrinking. That is the most important development in this saga. Barcola's situation. Another major factor is the player's position. Barcola has become one of the most exciting young attacking players in European football. His development at PSG has attracted enormous attention, and his situation has naturally created interest from Premier League clubs. Reports have suggested that Barcola is open to the idea of leaving PSG, while Liverpool have emerged as one of the strongest candidates for his signature. Some current reports even claim that the player has given Liverpool encouragement regarding a move, although the club-to-club agreement remains the key outstanding issue. This distinction is extremely important. Personal terms and club terms are two different parts of a transfer. Even if Liverpool have a positive relationship with Barcola and his representatives, PSG still have to agree to the transfer fee. That is exactly where negotiations currently stand. Arsenal threat remains. Liverpool also cannot afford to take too long. Arsenal have recently emerged as another potential destination for Barcola, creating an additional complication for the Reds. Recent reports have suggested that Arsenal have made contact around the player, while other reports indicate that the Gunners are considering whether to revive their interest. That means Liverpool have another reason to push negotiations forward. If Liverpool can reach an agreement with PSG before Arsenal becomes seriously involved, the Reds would put themselves in an extremely strong position. But if negotiations drag on for too long, the situation could become much more complicated. Arsenal have the financial power and sporting ambition to compete for elite attacking players. Liverpool therefore need to make their intentions clear. Why Liverpool want Barcola? The attraction is obvious. Barcola is a modern winger, capable of creating problems in several different ways. He has pace. He can carry the ball over long distances. He can attack defenders directly. He can cut inside. He can create chances. And he has the technical quality to operate in a possession-based team. For Liverpool, these qualities are particularly valuable because the club are continuing to reshape their attacking department. The Reds want more explosiveness and unpredictability in wide areas. Barcola could provide exactly that. His ability to receive the ball and immediately attack space would also fit a Liverpool side that wants to play with intensity and verticality. Under Andoni Iraola, Liverpool are expected to develop a more aggressive attacking structure, and a player with Barcola's profile could become an important part of that evolution. A massive investment. There is no question that €130 million would still be a huge transfer fee. Liverpool would be making one of the biggest investments in the club's history, but the club would not simply be paying for Barcola's current ability. They would also be investing in his future. At 23 years old, Barcola still has significant room for development. If he continues improving his finishing, decision-making and consistency in the final third, his value could rise even further. That is one reason Liverpool could be willing to push beyond their initial €115 million offer. The club would be looking at the transfer as a long-term investment rather than simply a short-term solution. why PSG could accept. For PSG, selling Barcola for €130 million would be a difficult decision. He remains a valuable player and an important part of their squad. However, the financial equation could eventually make the deal attractive. If Liverpool offer a package worth around €130 million, potentially including substantial bonuses, PSG could decide that the financial return is too significant to ignore. The French club would also have the opportunity to reinvest the money into their squad. And if Barcola himself is pushing for a new challenge, PSG may eventually decide that keeping an unhappy player is less useful than accepting a record-breaking offer. That is where the current negotiations become fascinating. Both clubs have reasons to make the deal happen. Liverpool want